Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Hundreds of people are dead and thousands on the run in a little-known conflict that could have big-time consequences. Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting over a small piece of territory. Well, what's happening that could turn this conflict into an all-out war? And why is Turkey fueling the fire? And the big thing, what about the prophecy of Ezekiel 38? Is it getting ready to happen in our lifetime? I think so. And the Christians caught in the crosshairs. George Thomas has an exclusive news interview with the president of Armenia.
The decades-old conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the contested region of Nagorno-Karabakh is threatening to erupt into a wider conflict involving Russia, Turkey, and radical Islamic jihadists. Turkey is reportedly recruiting hundreds of Syrian mercenaries to join Azerbaijan's army in the fight against Armenia. Mr. President, can you confirm these reports, and what are the implications of their involvement?
Well, first of all, I can confirm it's not only confirmation from my side. International organizations and even intelligence departments of different states have confirmed that.
In an exclusive interview with CBN News, Armenia's President Arman Sarkisian accused Turkey and its leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan of being a bully and making the crisis worse. Turkey has deployed drones and reportedly sold more than $123 million worth of military hardware to support Azerbaijan. What are the consequences, Mr. President, of not stopping Turkey's involvement in this conflict?
Well, not stopping Turkey in this conflict, you will get another Syria, but 10 times bigger.
President Sarkisian points to Turkey's ongoing military involvements in Syria, Iraq, Libya, and Afghanistan as more proof of Erdogan's expansionist ambitions.
Wherever they go, alone or bringing Islamic militant with them, basically they are there and they are destroying not only people's lives, but also ancient languages. As I said, like in Syria, destroying ancient Christian culture.
On October 7th, days after the conflict erupted, Azerbaijan, backed by Turkey, shelled this historic cathedral where many Armenian families had sought refuge. 3 weeks into the conflict, scores of families continued to pray and find refuge in the partially destroyed church.
God's house was transformed into ruins. They are capable of everything, but God will punish them.
More than 500 people have died and tens of thousands of civilians displaced by the fighting. Sandwiched between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh's ethnic Armenian population has long wanted to be independent to unite with Armenia. After numerous flare-ups over the region, this latest is the worst in decades. Russia, which backs Armenia but has ties with Azerbaijan, tried to broker a ceasefire last week. That failed. As fighting intensifies, experts worry Russia could be dragged further into the conflict. Russia's foreign ministry making a fresh appeal for peace late Wednesday.
We stand on our position that peaceful solution of the conflict is possible. Moreover, it's the only way to ensure sustainable solution of this problem.
Armenia is one of the world's oldest Christian nations. The majority of those living in the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region are also Christian. That includes Rita Grigorian, who, along with several others, has sheltered in the basement of this apartment building since fighting started. Grigorian lost her husband during the war with Azerbaijan in the 1990s. Her son-in-law and grandson are now on the front lines.
My grandson turned 20 and then the war started. How can we be happy? Where should we run if my relatives are here?
President Sarkisian tells CBN News that Armenia's struggle against what his government has called a Turkish-Azerbaijani terrorist alliance is similar to that of a story in the Bible.
So these brave people are like the story of the David and the Goliath. They are facing an enormous enemy that wants to destroy a whole civilization, a culture, religion, and people.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you say, what in the world has Nagorno-Karabakh got to do with me? Well, I want to tell you what it's got to do with you. There is a passage of Scripture in Ezekiel chapter 38 which foretells a huge invasion not only of those countries but of Israel. And here's what was said in the prophet Ezekiel: Son of man, turn your face of Gog, of the land of Magog, the prince who rules over the nations of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Therefore, Son of man, prophesy against Gog, give him this message from the sovereign Lord. When my people are living in peace in their land, then you will rouse yourself, you will come from your homeland in the distant north with your cavalry and mighty army, and you will attack my people Israel, covering their land like a cloud. At that time, in the distant future, I will bring you against my land as everyone watches, and my holiness will be displayed. What happens to you, Gog, that all the nations will know that I am the Lord. Well, now, what is this Gog and Magog thing? It's Turkey. And it says Rosh is not just Russia. Rosh means head. But you see, there they are, Togarmah, Gomer, Gog, and Magog. You see, Put is down there in West Libya. And Persia, of course, is part of the Islamic group that wants to come against Israel. So there they are, and it's setting up that war of Ezekiel 38 is coming to pass before us. And Erdogan, as you know, he took over the Santa Sophia in Istanbul, made it a mosque, the most holy church of the Eastern Orthodox, made it into a mosque, tore down other churches. And you know what he's already done with the Kurds? We talked about that some time ago when he was loosed on the Kurdish people, and the Peshmerga forces were overcome by the Turks. Erdogan wants to see himself as the new caliph, and he is going to put together, according to the Bible, an assembly of nations that will come against what is happening to Israel. They're living at peace. They've made peace with the Emirates. They've made peace with other nations, and sooner or later they're going to have peace with Saudi Arabia. The Israelis are living at peace in the land, which is what the prophecy said. And folks, this is going to happen. You see it in the newspaper, but it's beginning to unfold. And we certainly know that God Almighty says, I'm going to move myself. I will show when that horde comes in. But you've got Persia, which is Iran. They're part of it. They hate Israel. They want to destroy Israel. And you've got those southern Caucasian nations that are Muslim, and they're coming. And, of course, Turkey's going to be at the head of it, Gog and Magog. And it's all there. It's all waiting to happen. And it'll happen in your eyes. Watch the newspaper, because the Bible is getting ready to take place in your very lifetime. Well, in other news, the mainstream media is suppressing it, and social media is trying to shut it down. What's the exclusive story that no one is talking about? Oh, isn't that great? We've got a free press in America. Ephraim Graham has that answer.
Pat, the media has largely ignored a news story that contradicts Joe Biden's statement he was never involved in his son's business dealings with Ukraine. Adil Hurd is on the story.
A bombshell story that could have a major impact on the presidential race is being ignored and suppressed by social media and the mainstream media. The New York Post Wednesday produced emails showing Joe Biden's son Hunter introduced the then Vice President Biden to a Ukrainian energy executive. An April 2015 email reads in part, "Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to D.C. and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together." Vice President Biden and Hunter have stated repeatedly that he had no involvement in his son's foreign business dealings and never even discussed them.
I want to get to the heart of it. Did you and your father ever discuss Ukraine?
No. As I said, the only time was after a news account, and it wasn't a discussion in any way. There's no but to this. No, we never did.
Your dad said, I hope you know what you're doing.
I hope you know what you're doing.
I do?
And I said, I do. And that was literally the end of our discussion.
Joe Biden has been blatantly lying about his involvement in his son's corrupt business dealings. And this is a big smoking gun.
The Biden campaign denies the allegation. But when New York Post editor Sohrab Ahmari tried to post the story on Twitter, his tweet was blocked. He called it a big tech information coup. This is digital civil war. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany claims Twitter has locked her account until she deletes the New York Post Hunter Biden report.
They essentially have me at gunpoint and said, unless you delete a news story reported by the New York Post, I cannot regain access to my account.
Facebook also suppressed the story by limiting its distribution. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey later admitted Twitter's handling of the story was not great. Senator Josh Hawley tweeted that Dorsey's statement is a joke. He wants the CEOs of Facebook and Twitter to appear before a Senate subcommittee. Senator Ron Johnson called the media boycott of the story astounding and told Hannity this is only the tip of the iceberg of the corruption in the Biden family.
What Hunter Biden had going for him was his last name, and he traded that last name, as did other members of the Biden family, to make millions of dollars.
A Senate committee is now trying to verify the contents of the computer hard drive that contained those emails and is believed to belong to Hunter Biden. We could hear something from both candidates on the subject tonight when each has dueling town halls on different networks. But the question remains whether a journalist will even ask about it. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Isn't it amazing? They tried to impeach the President of the United States, actually held formal impeachment hearings because of a telephone call to a president of the Ukraine, just asking a simple question, are you going to investigate this? He didn't say anything else. But Biden bragged before the Council of Foreign Relations that he told the head of the Ukraine, if you don't fire that prosecutor, the one who was going after Burisma, we're not going to give you $1 billion of aid. And he bragged on it. It's on tape. I mean, how bad can it get? And here it is, his son was getting $50,000 a month to serve as a board member of this. Then we understand that there was some Chinese person that he got like $1 billion fund from. I mean, it's unbelievable, the corruption that's there. And yet the media is trying to suppress it. Isn't it terrible? We live in a thing, they say a free press is so important to a democracy, and yet Twitter and these other Facebook and these big companies are trying to suppress the news. You know, we don't like that. But I want to tell you, you're watching CBN News, and we will tell you the straight stuff. And this is a story that has to be investigated. As the senator from Louisiana said, it's as serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. And it will derail the Biden steamroller that has been going along. And again, with the polls, they try to cook the data to make everybody think Trump's losing, and it's unbelievable how they're trying to ensure, you know, that Hillary Clinton won the last election, and now they're trying to assure that Biden, but it's not Biden because Biden is going to step down, and then you've got Kamala Harris as our next president. That's what you're facing. Whew. Wow.
May you live in interesting times.
Isn't that was the curse. May you live in interesting. We are living in incredible times, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure our republic, as great as it is going to survive, but boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, you've been listening to those hearings. Without question, Amy Coney Barrett is one of the greatest jurists that's ever been appointed to the Supreme Court, and Ephraim has that story.
Pat, Amy Coney Barrett weathered a final day of hard questioning from those against her Supreme Court nomination. As Paul Strand reports, her Senate allies suggest her opponents are out of ammunition.
She's going to the court. Seat at the table is waiting on you.
Even so, Judge Barrett soldiered on, describing the battering confirmation process as excruciating.
Other people could do this job, but the same difficulty will be present for everyone. And so for me to say, you know, I'm not willing to undertake it, even though I think this is something important, would be, you know, a little cowardly, and, I wouldn't be answering a call to serve my country in the way that I was asked.
And Democrats still gave it their best shot, suggesting Barrett would be willing to overthrow established laws like legalized abortion.
When it comes to Roe v. Wade, the big question is whether Judge Barrett respects precedent or not.
She says she respects super precedents. Cases so settled, no one challenges them anymore. That's not the case with Roe.
There's active litigation regarding Roe, is that correct?
That is correct.
Democrats, though, were accusing Barrett of plotting to make rulings that would also do away with Obamacare and gay marriage.
People who want to simply marry or have a relationship with the person they love could find it criminalized.
Well, Senator, to suggest that that's the kind of America I want to create isn't based in any facts in my record.
Senator Ted Cruz pointed to what he thought was proof the Democrats had given up.
There are only 2 Democratic senators in the room. If you look at the dais, there's chair after chair after chair that is empty.
The Judiciary Chairman predicts a milestone confirmation.
This hearing, to me, is an opportunity to not punch through a glass ceiling, but a reinforced concrete barrier around conservative women. You're going to shatter that barrier. I have never been more proud of a nominee than I am of you.
Concerned Women for America's Penny Nance says Barrett is the role model for young conservative women.
And what's so beautiful about that is she's refused to buy into the old stereotype that you have to choose somehow between having a loving family, having even a large family, and having a career. She's doing both beautifully.
Next will be witnesses and a proposal to hold a confirmation vote. Paul Strand, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
And that confirmation vote is expected to happen before the election. Pat?
Well, the Democrats will do everything they can to stall it, but they won't be able to. They're going to try procedural stuff with it. I think Lindsey Graham was pretty savvy, and he's got a clear majority of the committee on his side. So they'll vote that nominee out of the committee very quickly, and the Senate should be able to vote on it and have her confirmed before the election. And coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly need this election is going to be fraught with controversy. You just know it is. I mean, there's so many things about ballot fraud and the stuff going on, and you know, which one? You remember that one about all that hanging chads and stuff in Bush v. Gore? Well, that finally had to go to the Supreme Court to decide whether they could even consider those things. But hopefully the Supreme Court doesn't make that decision. But as Ted Cruz has pointed out very cogently, a split court going into that election would be a tragedy. So they need to confirm this judge and have some kind of a majority in there that makes a decision, because otherwise this country will be in serious limbo. And as we showed in our last program about the procedural thing, if they can't agree on the Electoral College, and if they're in some kind of a tie, then Nancy Pelosi becomes the acting president, and I'm not sure everybody wants that either. She is fighting. It looks like she's taking on all the media. It is incredible. With Wolf Blitzer, she had a fight, and they were fighting each other. It's incredible. Well, anyhow.